First question.
One of the things that I'm struck with is how often here, I'm Ellen, is how often we continue to use the word stimulus when it's not stimulating anything. If we buy into their notion of stimulus or healthcare reform and we don't change the language itself to state exactly what it is, we're in trouble, and I think politicians need to understand that. It's not healthcare reform.
They're counterfeiting our money by printing money. It's not a stimulus. They're taking it from the productive people and giving it to the unproductive and or the political cronies. And the second thing with the healthcare reform, it's not reform. It's socialized medicine. It's government-controlled medicine. You're moving so far away from the free market.
You're moving so far away from the free market. And when will you change the language, the concepts, to be consistent with what actually is happening? Because I think you have a lot of power in that. And if you could address that.
I think that's a great question. You know, I mean, we hear stimulus all the time, and now they're even changing the language again, because stimulus has a negative connotation. So the new $15 billion stimulus bill is called the jobs bill, because everybody wants jobs, right? So it's all about the language, and I'm glad that you see through it, and I think people in this room see through that. Let me talk a little bit about stimulus, okay? In the 1st Congressional District, if you go to recovery.gov, you'll see that we've got about $366 million in stimulus in the 1st Congressional District, and on the website it claims that we created 429.5 jobs with that. If you do a long division, that's about $855,000 per job. Now, I would say that that figure is even low, because if you go, it's got a little interactive map, which we also pay for, and you can click on and see specific industries. You'll find a business there that got a $70,000 grant and claims to have created 20 jobs with it. 20 jobs for $70,000. How long do those jobs last? About 7 minutes? You know, I mean, it's the kind of thing that you've got to look very closely. But you're absolutely right about the language, and you're very astute to pick up on that. And we need to call it what it is. And that's one of the reasons that people like Mark and Mike and myself want to go to Congress, because we're going to call it what it is. Thank you.
Well, thank you, John. Oh. Well, you know, what it really is, the stimulus seems to be a time-release pork package trying to support the re-election bid of Barack Obama and his party. A lot of the money hasn't even been released. So it really has been a self-serving package, and it's really just picked winners and losers like they always do, and given jobs to friends of government. Everybody else has been left aside. As far as I am changing the language of health care reform, I've been calling for a nationwide marketplace in health insurance using a uniform state law process like the Uniform Commercial Code. The states have within their power the ability to create a nationwide marketplace in health care. The states need to get together like they did with the Uniform Commercial Code and simply say that this is a sufficient policy of health insurance. No state shall require more. These are sufficient consumer protections. No state shall require more. We did this in the 1950s and created a unified nationwide economy that was the envy of Europe and inspired the European Common Market. We need to get this market reform done. But at the federal level, Barack Obama says, I'm open to ideas on health reform as long as you insure 46 million Americans who don't have health insurance. What he's saying is there will be no reform of health insurance markets at all. What there will be is another subsidy and entitlement program, another top-heavy government-intrusive effort to control your lives and to tax you, tax and spend, making your health care a political football. At the state level, Elizabeth Roberts loves the Healthy Rhode Island plan. It's the same thing. Market reform is, well, maybe the health insurance commissioner will talk to the New England states, the health insurance commissioners of the New England states, and they'll agree on some reforms. But before that ever happens, there'll be compulsory coverage and a new, a group of payers and subsidized. And the people already paying too much will have to pay for the subsidized. Thank you.
Ellen, thank you very much. It does my heart good to see people who are really paying attention and looking at what they see and saying, wait a minute, this is all wrong. I'll tell you how to make a real stimulus. Forget all the stuff that's coming out of Washington. A real stimulus comes when we get the government out of the way and let productive people here in America do what they do best, which is create wealth using their own hands. That's how it's done. By sticking that giant vacuum cleaner hose from Washington deeper and deeper into all of our pockets, it is taking away the very freedom we have, not just to pursue happiness, but to pursue commerce. And we need to keep that money in the people's hands. The single reason why it's important to have smaller government is because it costs less. And since it costs less, you get to keep more of your money. And you know what to do with your money, or what you want done with your money, better than anybody else does, and certainly better than any government bureaucracy. So what we have to do is confine the government to the role that it was first intended to take. And I hate to say, you know, it's as simple as defending the shores and delivering the mail. It really doesn't even have to deliver the mail anymore. But what we have is what I like to call an operator's guide for the United States government. It's the Constitution of the United States. Read it sometime, you'll be amazed. What it does is it protects you from your government. And I suggest that today, more than you have in recent years, you need protection from your government. And I'm offering to do it for you. Please remember me on November 4th. Thanks.
Next question, Steve.